Hi everybody. On this episode of Living in Orange and Durham counties, I'm giving you a tour of downtown Chapel Hill and Carrboro. We're going to start at the Planetarium, make our way all the way down through downtown Carrboro before making a figure eight and heading back up Rosemary Street. I'm Gary Miller with Red Bloom Realty. Let's get started. I'm standing in front of the UNC Planetarium, which actually served as a training spot for NASA astronauts back in the day. But today it's going to serve as our easternmost point on our tour of downtown Chapel Hill and Carrboro. The road continues eastward toward Durham, but we're not going to go that far out of downtown. Behind the Planetarium is actually UNC's North Campus. From here we're going to drive into the central part of downtown. I'm here on the 100 block of East Franklin Street right now, which is really what you think of when you talk about Franklin Street. Right across the street from me is the north end of the university, and we're surrounded by places like Sutton Drugs, which is certainly a classic Chapel Hill destination. This part of town you're going to find restaurants and bars, as well as the place to pick up your memorabilia from the Tar Heels. I'm standing at the corner of Franklin Street and Columbia Street, which is the crossroad of the heart of downtown. Right above me is Top of the Hill, which has been here since around 1994, and is the location you often see photos taken from when there's pandemonium on this corner after the Tar Heels win a national championship or get into the Final Four or something of that nature. This is the dividing line between East Franklin Street and West Franklin Street, and we'll head on down the road from here. I'm now on West Franklin Street, and perhaps no part of Chapel Hill has seen more change than the first few blocks of West Franklin. What used to be single-story storefronts are now multi-story apartments and brand names on the first floors. So certainly if you visited Chapel Hill decades ago, you might not recognize this part of town. Currently I'm in front of 308 West Franklin, which is the home of the Chapel Hill Visitor Center, so you may want to stop by here if you're coming to town for the first time. This stretch of West Franklin has a wonderful collection of restaurants. I'm currently standing in front of Cholinade, which is one of my favorites, but really you can't go wrong wandering down this street looking for somewhere to eat at night. Behind me is the crossroads of West Franklin Street and Merritt Mill, and this is the place where Chapel Hill and Carrboro merge together on the downtown stretch. As you move from one to the other, it's fairly imperceptible, although you can certainly see that there is a sign that will tell you you are now in Carrboro, but the lived experience of being here is not so distinct. Weaver Street Market is not just a co-op grocery, but the lawn in front of Weaver Street serves as sort of a community town center for Carrboro. So on the weekends, especially once warm summer nights, you're going to find a big crowd of people gathering here, being social and sometimes listening to music or throwing frisbees or otherwise just in enjoying the community feeling that Carrboro provides. I'm currently standing on one of my favorite little stretches of town. This block is quite short, but in fact has many of my favorites, from Armadillo Grill to Acme to where I'm standing now, which is the Orange County Social Club. Carrboro tends to pack a lot of cool into every square inch, and this block is definitely a good indicator of that. I've mentioned a number of restaurants and bars along this tour, but I don't want you to get the sense that the only thing to do here is eat and drink. In fact, all along Franklin Street and down through Main Street in Carrboro, there are plenty of activities. The Varsity hosting movies and improv comedy, and there's music all up and down, from the Cave to Local 506 to the station to what is behind me currently, which is the world's famous Cat's Cradle. Perhaps you've heard of Cat's Cradle. But also in this same area is the Carrboro Art Center. So if you find yourself wanting to take in some jazz or a performance, this is also a great place for that. So plenty to do here in downtown Chapel Hill and Carrboro for sure. Behind me is Rosemary Street, and just ahead is the corner of Rosemary and Columbia. And that'll bring us to the end of our tour of downtown Chapel Hill and downtown Carrboro. If you're ever in town, certainly feel free to look me up. I love giving people tours of the area, or would be happy to make recommendations to make your trip stellar. And if you're moving to the area, don't forget, my name's Gary Miller. I'm with Red Bloom Realty and would be happy to help you find home here in Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and the greater Orange County and Durham County areas.